Hello, I'm John Brink, and we are podcasting on the Brink from the capital of northern BC, Prince George. An absolute fabulous day in Prince George, and a couple of very, very special guests. And the guests are Chris Goodwin, and then the other fellow is Patrick Michaud. And welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks very much.
And you are a couple of members of the band.
Yeah, the Chris Goodwin Band.
4 people, right?
Yep, there's 4 people.
And you know, you are musicians, country musicians.
Yep.
Very popular in northern BC, but not limited to BC, international and across Canada. So I thought to start things off a little bit, you're sitting here with your guitars, and I love country music and I love guitars. So why don't you play us something to get started?
Sure, that's okay. Why don't we do, we'll do the first single we released to radio. That was last December. And it's still getting played across Canada right now, actually.
Came as high as
number two. Yeah.
In the country, 2. I know that, right?
Yeah, it was. It did really well for us. This one's called "A Shot of Jack Daniels."
Okay.
All right, 1, 2, 3. When I woke up in the morning, I was already late for work. I only got 1 sip of coffee and the rest poured down my shirt. Man, I was struggling. I was still hustling to go make that pay. I thought I had it figured out, erased most of my doubts until I walked out to the car to find the air was all let out of my front tire. Like I conspired to ruin this day. Well, I knew where this was headed, and the only thing that I could think to say was, hey, I need a shot of Jack Daniels and a Marlboro smoke. I need a big screen TV and a damn fine joke. A red-headed, long-legged girl on my knee who tells me that she wants to do whatever I please. You know I don't need no doctor with no fine antidote. I need a shot of Jack Daniels and a Marlboro smoke. Well, I thought I had it figured out, erased most of my doubts until my phone it got to buzzing. I could tell just by the sound it was my baby. Said I was crazy, she packed up her things. And I tried the voice of reason and I begged her not to go. But before I even finished, I could hear that dial tone that meant she hung up. Man, don't that sum up what this day will bring? Ain't no use in trying to fight it, it was over before I stepped into the ring. I'll just sing, I need a shot of Jack Daniels and a Marlboro smoke. I need a big screen TV and a damn fine joke. A red-headed, long-legged girl on my knee who tells me that she wants to do whatever I please. You know I don't need no doctor with no fine antidote. I need a shot of Jack Daniels and a Marlboro smoke. Well, as soon as I got up, I should have climbed back into bed. I should have known right from the start that I was in over my head. Ain't gonna start a cussing or pulling out my hair. I'm gonna ride it out till I can get me somewhere to get a shot of Jack Daniels and a Marlboro smoke with a big screen TV and a damn fine joke. A red-headed, long-legged girl on my knee who tells me that she wants to do whatever I please. You know I don't need no doctor with no fine antidote. I need a shot of Jack Daniels and a Marlboro smoke. I need a shot of Jack Daniels and a Marlboro smoke. Give me a shot of Jack Daniels and a Marlboro smoke. Nice high harmony.
Amazing, guys.
Do that quietly now.
I love it.
Thanks.
Amazing.
Thanks, bud.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So Are you originally from Prince George?
I am born and raised in Prince George.
Born and raised in Prince George. And how about you, Patrick?
No, not myself. I moved here for university and bounced around a little bit, but
UNBC?
yes, kind of keep finding my way back. Was out east until 2020, out in Kingston in Ontario, and came back right as COVID kind of first started. And
Oh my goodness!
kind of got stranded here and never left.
And still
And
here.
now I have a baby. So
Now you're gonna stay.
yeah, so now I'm here.
Now you're here to stay. So so your profession, you're a professional musician.
Yep.
Now, and then I thought you said something like a speaker or
I'm a teacher as well, yeah. We're not at the stage yet. We're just playing music. We'll pay all of the bills, so we've all
Well,
got
you're
day
doing
jobs
very well,
as well.
you know.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm a teacher. Right now I'm the music teacher at Spruceland Elementary School.
Yeah.
And before that, I'm also a journeyman carpenter, so I worked for about 12 years as a carpenter here in Prince George as
Wow.
well. And then before that, I worked as a cook as well, too,
Oh
at
my-
the old Caribou restaurant, actually.
Oh
so,
my goodness!
yeah, I've got a few logs in the fire there, but yeah, music and teaching is kind of, this is where we're going from
Yeah.
here on out.
So and obviously you've been very, very successful with the band, and then was that always part of what you wanted to do? I wrote a book, as you probably seen, Finding Your Passion, Living the Dream, and meaning that we do different things, but we kind of thinking about what we really like to do.
Yeah, and this was, for myself, this was always a dream of mine, that I feel like I went a long time not pursuing it, and I thought that was kind of like I'd missed my opportunity, I'd missed my window.
Yeah.
And then
It's too late.
yeah, that's what I thought. Just for playing music. For teaching has always been a passion of mine. It's something
Yeah.
I always wanted to do, so I'm thankful for that as well. But then once I met Pat and our bass player Steve and Chester and a few other musicians around town, and we just started playing as a cover band and things like that, and then it just kind of opened my eyes to like, maybe it's not too late. Maybe we can do this. And then everything has really snowballed since then. We haven't actually been doing it together that long. I mean, we've been playing together for a few years, cover shows and things like that.
Yeah.
But for original music, we only started in December. That's when we released that of
This
2022. Yeah.
So where does the song come from? The one that you play?
It's actually, that particular song, Shot of Jack Daniels, was actually a title of a song I wrote when I was a kid, actually, like 14 or 15 years old.
So you wrote the song?
Well, I wrote the original version of the song,
Right.
and then as we decided we were going to start writing original music and releasing original music, I said to the guys, I have this title, this song, Shot of Jack Daniels, and Shot of Jack Daniels and a Marlboro Smoke, and there could be something there. And so we kind of took the framework of what I did as a kid, which wasn't very good,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, but just that idea, and we kind of workshopped it together, and then that's what came out.
So I've always found it amazing how people can develop the songs and then be the musicians at the same time, develop their own songs. That makes it so unique, right?
It's quite a cool experience, and I'm sure Pat can talk to it a little bit more than I am. I haven't actually been doing it that long. Pat's been doing this since you came out playing the guitar.
Pretty much. Both my parents are musicians, so like I didn't really have a choice. It's
Yeah.
like, not that they were forcing me or anything, but it was just like very musical
It came
environment.
natural
Yeah,
to you,
lots of musicians in the family, and like my brother plays everything. So it's just kind of like, I wanted to be cool like Big Brother. So I started playing drums and was bad at that, and then kind of moved on.
Yeah.
Here we are.
And then the other unique part about it is that how you found each other, so how did you kind of get to know each other and the other members of your band?
It's kind of a funny story. So a mutual friend of ours, a great guy here in town, great musician named Curtis Abriel, he was working at my school as an educational assistant at the time. And so we became buddies, and we started talking and throwing around this idea of we should do a country band. There should be a country band. And then a mutual friend of ours, Kyle Sampson, I saw he was on the show a little while ago.
Yeah.
He was putting on an event. Boy, I get the dates wrong. It was a Rib Fest. It was like 2018, 2019, something like that.
That's right.
And he wanted a country band to do it. And so talking with Curtis, he said, why don't we start a band and we'll just because he was connected to everyone, to Pat and all these other guys, and we'll see if we can get some different people to come in, and we'll just kind of do a one-off and play this Rib Fest for Kyle as a country band. So Pat actually came in as the drummer of that band.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, Pat was the original drummer of the band. Our bass player now, Steve Smith, he's been playing bass with us the whole time. He came in as the bass player then. We had a guy named Brock Pachieski was playing pedal steel guitar. Nailed it. And our lead guitar player was a guy by the name of Dan White. So all local musicians. And we played that gig and it went fine. And then, we just kind of, an opportunity would come and an opportunity would come. And so we'd kind of sub different people in and whatnot. Me and Steve would always be there. Pat ended up moving over to guitar eventually, which was a better fit. And then...
why is it for him or for the group?
Pat's a guitar player.
But you're a very good guitar player, both of you are, but so you do drums, you do bass, you do guitar, you got the whole package, right?
I mean...
And you're saying...
I dabble. I do my very best.
He's being pretty humble. Pat's a musician, so that's something I'll always say is, I can carry a tune okay, though Pat will tell you differently. And,
I would not.
And we have a lot of fun, but I'm not a musician. I can write whatever. I'll write some lyrics and we mess around on the guitar, but Pat's a musician.
Right.
My drummer, our drummer Chester, he's a musician. Our bass player Steve, he's a musician. They can play multiple instruments and things like that.
But to find the quality at that level in a group, because unless you have the right group and the right quality, it doesn't bring you to being the second in the country on the song that you just sung for us.
That one did well for us. That was for independent Canadian country music across the country. We went to number 2. I think, John, just as important as how talented everyone in the band is, we get along really, really well. And I think that's the difference maker.
I was going to say.
Yeah, we genuinely enjoy each other's company. If the four of us, if we're together, you're not going to see us not smiling and laughing very often. We have a pretty good time together. And that's the difference maker. It's not work, right? It's
and that doesn't happen to every band.
No, it doesn't.
The Beatles come to mind and some other ones way back then, right? So.
Well, again, that's something, I've only really played with this band. I had a band, a group of teachers, we played together when I started being a teacher at Spruceland. We were called Barefoot Fridays, and we had a really good time there as well. But other than that, this is really the only band I've ever played with. So, but I'm sure Pat would tell you that it doesn't always click every time.
It certainly does not.
Yeah. And then you're always kind of working on ideas for songs that come to mind. You prefer to do songs that you guys have developed, or do you use other songs? If you now go for a show of some sort, that and I think you were talking about something next week or so. That
we've got one today when this airs at the BCNE Thursday night. We're headlining there at 8:30, and then we've got another one at Nellie's Pub next
tonight
Saturday.
at 8:30.
Yeah, you betcha. 8:30 to 10:30. It's interesting. So we just had this conversation, not just yesterday. Actually, we went for a cup of coffee. And I was saying, we still play cover songs. Covers are, when people come out to the pub or anything like that, and they want to dance, they want to hear stuff they know and they can sing along to. So of course we still do covers. But what I was saying to Pat and Steve yesterday was, for me, the more original music we put out, the harder it is to go back and play other people's music. Not that I'm against it. That's what I grew up. That's how I learned how to play. But it's once you start creating your own stuff, the novelty of that hasn't worn off for me yet. It's really cool. We wrote that. That's on the radio.
It's unique. And then getting to the level that it did, so is amazing, really, right?
And to your earlier point, we are always thinking about different things, different ideas for songs. What's cool about our band is we're all kind of into different music. I'm a country, I like all music, but I'm generally the country guy. That's kind of my wheelhouse. Whereas, Steve listens to this and Chester is that and Pat is a little bit of this. And so I feel like we do bring a whole bunch of different ideas to the table when it comes to collaboration and songwriting.
And then the other part is that you go to other places where you play as well, right? So now you have your career. So how do you kind of fit that in? Now you have to go to Edmonton on Friday, Saturday evening or whatever.
Yeah.
Or Vancouver.
Ironically, that's where Pat's going.
Oh, okay.
This weekend,
Going to
yeah.
Hinton this weekend, yeah.
It's we haven't got to the stage yet where that's turned into an issue. It could turn into an issue, though. We'll see what happens. I mean, we're all pretty clever humans, and we'll figure out ways to kind of make it happen.
It
But
is
we've got to be
likely
selective.
because you have the quality, obviously, and the talent, so that, and then country extremely popular, but have you got your, I would not say normal job, but have you got another?
Yes, I do admin for the government.
Oh yeah.
I'm a drone. Just like pushing paper, worker bee stuff.
Yeah.
But like I said, I just had a daughter, so I'm currently on paternal leave. So
Oh, yeah.
I'm free and clear until April, good buddy. Let's go, man.
Let's go. Book it. It's probably once school starts again, it's a little bit trickier for me now.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
We were saying off camera during the summer, it was me having all of the free time and trying to get everyone else, to make sure they can book some time off work or whatever to make that happen. But now once school starts, it's a little trickier for me. I can't just pick up and leave, right?
Yeah, I can see it that obviously you had one hit and potentially another one, then that there'd be more to follow because I presume, and I don't know, but I kind of have watched, country is my favorite in a way, but I listen to all music, and most of the people that are very successful have this, the one song follows the other, and somehow it seems to, once they get started, then from there on in it becomes a career.
It's a pretty cool ride. I mean, so we had Shot of Jack Daniels that came out. We've got another song out on radio right now called Don't You Want a Truck that's doing really well.
I saw that, yeah.
Particularly, this particular track got picked up on Sirius XM's Top of the Country, which is their exclusive Canadian country music channel on Sirius XM. And
Right.
it's doing really well there for us, actually. So, everything is going really well. We've got another song that's coming out at the end of September. We're actually going in to film our first ever music video for that next week. We're starting that. And then, we've got a bunch of new songs that we just kind of wrote, and we're ready to get into the studio, hopefully late fall, early winter, and start working on stuff for next year.
So where is the studio?
Here in town.
Yeah.
It's we work with Connor Pritchard at Pulp City Music. He's kind of, how would you even describe Connor?
He's our special boy.
He's our special boy. He's kind of, I don't want to say best, but he's very highly regarded in producing music in northern BC, probably all of BC actually. He's a very talented guy.
Easy guy to work with.
That is another benefit. That's what I find so amazing in this region. Like for podcasting, I've done 151, you guys, and all of them uniquely different and special in all kinds of different ways. Yeah.
It's a pretty cool place, Prince George, for music, and I'm only connected in a little bit. Pat could probably name off several more names, but I mean, we've got people here like Genevieve Jade, we've got people here like Carl Wyson, we've got people here like Brit AM and the Crones, and Rick Stavely's been playing country music for years and years, and he's putting out music again now. So we're a really strong music community, I think, here in Prince George.
Yeah. Now the other part about it, looking at technology, and I look at, we talked about that a little bit. What has happened? Technology has become so huge in terms of communicating with the rest of the world. He was sitting, we may be sitting here, and I do a lot of virtual as well, and I'm usually sitting in your seat there, Dan, and we may be talking to somebody in Sweden, France, Spain, all over the place, all over the world. All of that is relatively new. 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, we didn't have that at all. And does that help you in terms of getting your name out there more, or does it benefit you in terms of making other connections?
Well, Pat's really our social media guy.
Totally.
No, I mean, I would. We don't do any. So, like during COVID, when COVID happened, I would do a few like live stream things just from my basement just as a solo or stuff like
Right.
that. But as a band, we haven't had to. We haven't done any type of streaming thing or anything virtually like that. But we do utilize a lot of social media, and that is very helpful at getting our name out across the country. Country music, the independent country music scene in British Columbia isn't as strong as it is in other places across the country. Ontario, Quebec, Manitoba's doing quite well. And so we are fortunate to live in this age where we do have Instagram and Facebook, and we even started a TikTok account and different things like that, just so we can get our names out. And it's even easier with streaming services, you could argue, with Spotify and Apple Music and things like that, to where people from all across the globe can access your music, right? They just got to hear it first, like hear that.
They have to get there.
Yeah, you just got to push them in that direction, right?
How about Vancouver? How is that?
Well, Pat's played down in Vancouver quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't want to say old band because they're who I'm playing with this weekend, but the band that used to be far more active, that I guess still in, used to play like Roosters and Gabbies and like the A-list rooms around kind of Western Canada a whole bunch. And Vancouver has a weird country music scene because it's not a country city, kind of at all. And there's, my personal gripes with like the aesthetics of the dog tags and the backward hats and the $500 jeans talking about tractors and whatnot, but that's neither here nor there. But what that elicits when kind of the rubber meets the road of the audiences and what they're looking for is just sort of a completely different aesthetic, for lack of a better word, than what it is in Prince George, where like there are actual mills and there are people who actually have quads and they go out in the country and they actually camp and do all of those things. Yeah. So everybody wants to have a beer with their friends and dance and have a good time.
Right.
But the environments and the things and the types of music that somebody in Vancouver is looking for doesn't really facilitate live bands with live instruments, with like practiced vocals and all the rest of it, as much as DJs and other sorts of like entertainment like that, which is fine. It's just a judgment.
How about country,
Preferences.
Calgary, Edmonton, those kind of locations?
Calgary's great. I was born in Calgary.
Yeah.
I had lots of family there. Head back there in April. Ranchman's is kind of the beginning and ending of all country bars in Western Canada that are still standing. The two places that I'm in Vancouver closed over COVID. Like they lost enough money that was just it, and they couldn't figure coming back out of it. So I guess to circle back a little bit, there's not really an A-list country room in Vancouver anymore. Like the greater Vancouver area doesn't exist. Short of getting to like the Commodore, but that's 3 steps above being a bar band. Like your Florida Georgia Line played there last time I was there.
Well, you got the attention now.
Sure.
Becoming second, and from here on in, what it sounds like to me is that you will stay active and producing other songs that will get the attention. Once you're in the door, it's from there on up to you to get in there further and further and get established, right? Is that basically how does that work? You now want to make sure that they play you on the radios, that you what's the process?
Yeah. So the great thing about the Spotifys and the lowering of the bar, I'm going to say the democratization of having your music accessible, is that yes, more people literally everywhere have access to your music at all times, and that's awesome. But that also means that there's nowhere to go, right? There's no much music. There's not really an MTV. Rolling Stone doesn't exist. So there's nowhere for just an average music fan to go and be like, hey, I'm going to go and check out the new 10 good bands that released an album this month or whatever in their physical copy of Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to quantify what success really means.
Yeah.
Beyond, and I don't want to sound too reductive, but beyond honestly just like your income.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly soulless to say, and I don't want to look at it that way. But I just mean to say that it's a difficult thing to try to be like exacting in a world that really just doesn't allow it.
And that was a question I was asking. So when we started this in December, and I did, we did a lot of the, well, I shouldn't say a lot, all of the promotion and radio tracking and things like that ourselves, because we didn't know any better. And it was a kind of learn as you go thing. And like with radio is a tricky one, because kind of the way I always talk about it is that record labels kind of own radio. They don't own radio. Radio's independent, but if you're not signed by a record label, the chances of getting played on the radio are very, very low.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about money. They've need advertisers and blah, 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 blah. So, like when we did Jack Daniels and we sent it out, I was contacting radio stations all across the country. And a lot of them you can't actually even get to, respond to an email. I originally thought that it was about the song. Like, hey, I think this is a pretty catchy song. You guys should check it out. It might do okay for you. Yeah. But that's not really. That's like half the battle. Half, maybe not even half.
No, that was like 15%.
Yeah, 15% of the battle.
So what is the other 85%?
I don't have a clue. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to. It's a lot of connections. Trying to make connections. Trying to contact people. Figuring out who's who and who's who where. How do you get in touch with these people?
How do they kind of push the buttons that opens doors?
Yeah.
It reminds me in a way of that. I write books, right? Only started about 5 years ago. I'm 83. Oh. And so probably was finding my passion, at 75. And, so I've done 3 now, and I'm writing 2 more. One is coming out, Living Young, Dying Old, interesting book, coming out in June. And then I'm writing a book on the forest industry in British Columbia. It's going to be a very interesting book, a whole history, telling the story of the forest industry. A lot of people like to know. Cool. This one I wrote against all odds. And have you seen this one, or you don't have it?
I haven't read it, but I've seen all of your books.
Okay.
I've
followed
your podcast.
Give you a copy of it and sign on for you.
Thank you.
This one is, I was born in Holland in in November the 1st, 1940, and then saw the war, and the war years were pretty tough, and then, we were liberated by the Canadians April the 12th, 1945, and and then I always knew I wanted to go to Canada, the land of my heroes, from the time I was 5 years old. And then the other problem, I was not very successful in school. I failed grade 3 and failed grade 7 3 times. And then he said, what we're going to do with this guy, send him to a mentally challenged school. My parents were very good, and fortunately they didn't do that. And they, my grandfather was a master carpenter, a very good one, but he died when he was 42. I never got to meet him, but I knew him through his work. And then my dad managed a small lumber company. And lumber to me was something that I wanted to do. So I thought I was a failure, and although I was always a very happy guy in Holland, but if you want a job, then the first thing you say, okay, where are your diplomas? What have you got? I said, well, I have diplomas. Grade 7 3 times, give me a break. Right? And I failed grade 3. Nobody fails grade 3. The other day I did a presentation, and a lady in the crowd said, I did. I said, just the 2 of us then, So anyway, so the things were pretty tough, and then all along the way, and then I came here. I couldn't speak the language. I didn't know soul, and I didn't have a job. And it was in July of 1965. Wanted to go to BC. That's where the timber is. That's where you can build a lumber mill, And then I came off the train in Vancouver, and once to the immigration office. Fortunately, there was a fellow that spoke German. I could speak some German, and I told him what I wanted to do. He said, Prince George, go to Prince George. That's what I did. So in July of '65, came off the bus here, about 2 blocks away from here, and then I had in my pocket $25.47. I had a suitcase, 3 books, a set of clothes, and as I said, couldn't speak language, I didn't have a job, and then started as clean-out man and all the other kind of stuff. All along the way, within 2 years, I was a superintendent. I started off as a cleaner man, lumber pilot, and then within 2 years I was a superintendent of one of the biggest mills here. That didn't go fast enough for me. And then I got an opportunity to manage a small mill with an option of buying a third ownership in that mill. And that was in Watson Lake, Yukon.
Okay.
Have you been in Watson Lake?
No, I haven't.
No.
It's very cold there in the winter.
I can imagine.
So
Yeah.
it snows in July, and you don't know if it is late or early.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and for a guy coming out of Holland, you know, that was a whole new experience. But anyway, I was there for 5 years. Can write a book about it. Actually, kind of fits in what we are doing here today. Is that I stayed in a motel, but it was entrepreneurial. So I ended up buying the motel. It's in the book. You know, bought the motel. Made a deal with the person that desperately wanted to get out of there. Made a deal. I said, I'll sell it for you, get a commission of $10,000. That's what I used as a down payment to buy it, went to the bank, and had to be innovative. Then they had a lounge that seated 35 people, and I have to change everything and make it bigger, right? So then I built a cabaret seating about 150 people, the biggest cabaret in next to Whitehorse, but outside of Whitehorse in Watson Lake. And I brought in music and musicians and wild, you know, in Watson Lake. Anyway, so the whole story is in here. So this book is about that, and then all the other challenges along the way. It's not about hurrah, hurrah, how successful John is. It's not about that. It's about in spite of it all, and then, you know, battling along. And then the other thing that, you know, I was here already, it was in 97. I was 57 years old. I walked into a store here, Books on 3rd or 4th.
Books and Company.
And I picked up this book, and I don't know why I did that, and it said ADHD. And I said, oh my God, that's me. So, and I bought the book, Driven to Distraction. I wrote in Dutch. Now I finally know who I am. And it kind of changed my life, you know, really. And then I felt I had to write a book about it. I did that too. This one, quite successful actually, ADHD. And then the other one is that so many people don't like what they are doing. I said, find your passion, you know, in living the dream. And saying, then to me as the writer is that, okay, did you find your passion? Yes, I did. Are you living the dream? I am. And then I added to it, as both of you are saying, is that music then became the other passion that you then complemented what you're already doing, and then from there, and it may well become, I believe, it will become likely your career as you go forward, are more demanding all the time as you are already very successful and likely will as you go forward. This book is about that in terms of finding that passion, living the dream. And so many people, they say, I hate what I'm doing. Something that I didn't know, 70% of the population, according to somebody in the United States, say that they don't like their job. And probably 75% are looking for another job.
Yep.
Anyway, I write about that here. And so the point that I really was going to make is that when I wrote the book, somewhat like what you were saying, is that, okay, now what? You know, you write the book, and how do you get it to the market? You know, because, you know, and I'm absolutely convinced that each one of them will sell 1 million copies. I'm absolutely totally convinced about that. I was able to do our own production. We produce our own books. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
And then getting it in the marketplace, uniquely what you're dealing with, you know, so we're doing all of that, and same as the other books. And then how do you get it in front of the public? How do you get it in Costco?
Yeah, right.
Those kind of places,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And all that takes time, and you have to push the right buttons. Now there are a lot of buttons that are opportunistic, you know, that you know, you have to kind of figure out, okay, which ones are real and which ones will move me forward.
Yep.
that's what happened with the books. I still like it very much. Fortunately, I can afford to do it myself.
Sure.
And but at some point, they're, I believe, very good. And to me, it's not good in terms of I make money at doing that, but more that for some people that feel that they're just not good enough or they have issues with it, I sell them my book or I give them my book, and then a lot of people say, "Oh, you're successful, you have the business and all this other kind of stuff." Well, it's not easy, read the book. It's falling, standing up, starting over again, and then the other part that that I've been doing. I'm a professional speaker, and do presentations all over, give keynotes, and and that to me is very important. Talking about motivational speeches in particular, but also about ADHD and other things that are important for me.
Well, and just to connect to that, like you said, it's about not only pushing those right buttons, but finding those buttons. Like, where are they? And so that takes a lot of work. It took a lot of research. Thankfully, we've made several good connections in the industry in Canada. We're working with a marketing agency out of Ontario right now that has really helped get our name out there and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely not easy. It's not.
No.
I mean, it's one thing for us to get together and jam out some music or go put on a show or something like that's awesome. It's hanging out with your buds and playing music.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. But to do the legwork, to do the grunt work, to get it out there.
Get in front of somebody that knows the business, they'll see the talent, right? And they will say, click, that these guys have potential.
Well, that's the dream.
Yeah.
No, and that's
Ideally,
the way, I'm convinced that that's the way it works, because that's how a lot of those people came to the forefront, because the products that they put out, they are consistent, same as with my books, that I'm absolutely, totally convinced that these will sell 1 million copies, and that they will be the base for my keynote presentations that I do all over motivational ones, and but it's just a question of click, and then before you know it, it is working. Podcasting, the same thing. The podcasting, so we have done so far between Shaw about 35 and here 151 tonight, obviously. So in the 180 area, but say 150 in this setting is that, we're always looking for other interesting guests that we can podcast or they podcast us. And again, learning to, where do we find these people? How can we push the buttons that we get them interested in what we are doing? And then gradually be building up the reputation. Now with the one organization we joined about a couple of weeks ago, a month ago, I believe the name of it is Pod Match or Pod Watch, that has about 18,000 podcasters from all over the world connected to it, and and so we are in their group. We signed up on it, and since that time, I believe Scott told me, I think we have 180 requests.
Oh, okay, right on.
For podcasting from all over the world, and then they rated us top 5% in the world.
Oh wow!
Of podcasters, because of the number of podcasts we do and the number of people that are viewing, and some of the podcasts that we do is amazing. We did one about a month ago. We had 800,000 views.
Oh wow! Right on.
And so that falls all in the same category of being noticed.
Yes.
Saying, where do I become a must-have speaker?
Yep.
I think I'm a good speaker, and I'm a good writer, and we're doing well on the podcasting. But how do you get noticed? So and it takes time, but then I know it will click, and then from there and then it becomes then the other issue and the other problem that you related to is saying, okay, that's good. Now what do we do? How do we schedule it all in?
Yep.
Because all of a sudden, there is an opportunity here, there, all over the place, and that's when the transition happens, right?
Yeah, I don't necessarily even like the word problem. It wouldn't be. It would just be. You just have to. We'd make it happen.
Challenge.
Challenge.
Not
Challenge.
problem.
Sure. Yeah. It would be. I use the term first world problems all the time. Like that'd be a good problem to have. Okay.
Yeah.
If we're in demand so much that we have to try and figure out how to get some time off of work.
Oh man, how are we going to make all these gigs work?
That's a good problem. We just did a couple of weeks ago. We went as a band on the road for the first time. Obviously, everyone has kind of done their own thing in the past, but as a band, we just did our first kind of this summer. We just went out on the road a little bit, and we did a 2-night stay up over in Terrace.
Where was that?
In Terrace, BC. We were playing at there's a place called George's Pub. It was, It was a cute little place there, and we filled it up both nights, so that was nice. Went really, really good. It was a Friday, Saturday night, and we were driving home Sunday. And I remember saying to Pat, like, I could get used to this. It's not bad. I mean, you go on the road with your buds. What'd you do? Well, we went and played music for 4 hours for a packed house. Like,
I sang songs and drank beer with my friends.
Yeah, and got paid for it.
It could be worse.
Like it's
and
not a bad problem.
the next is you have to get a bus.
Well, we've got a few more steps, along the way.
But
I like your confidence. That's good. Very optimistic.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's a good time, and you hit the nail on the head. We're trying to be consistent with putting up music. We went in. When we did Jack Daniels, the song we did at the beginning, we went in to the recording studio and just recorded that one.
Yeah.
We said, let's go and try it. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And we released it, and it was a bit of a slow build, but it started to get played.
Yeah.
It's still getting played, especially Ontario,
Very
Quebec.
catchy.
It took off. So we said, okay, we're on to something here. So we went back into the studio. I'm going to say we went in like February-ish.
Somewhere in there.
2023. Yeah. And we recorded another 5 songs. One's on the radio now, Don't You Want a Truck? We've got a new single coming out, I'm thinking the last Friday of September, somewhere in there. And then we'll drop the other 2 songs as well as a 6-song EP. So that'll all come out just digital only. But then, like I said, we're going right back into the studio. And so we're trying to be consistent, always have stuff ready to go. And we're looking ahead, John, to next summer. For Canadian country music, summer is kind of where it's at, especially as an indie artist. There, when all your festivals are, rodeos, things like that. So I think that's what we're looking towards is for next year, to get that new music out, have some stuff, build a catalog online for new fans to kind of get a feel for who we are, and then have some new stuff ready to come out.
I love music, right? So so does my wife, and then we have a place in North Saanich, and I usually go there on the weekends, get away from the mill, otherwise I'm there. For 30 years I worked 7 days a week, as long as I could stay awake virtually. And so I try not to do that right now as much. So I go usually Friday afternoons at 2 o'clock. I'd go to North Saanich. We have a beautiful place there. And then I come back Monday morning, catch the 11 o'clock flight from there direct to here. Hour and a half later, I'm here in Prince George. Usually when I'm down there, we have 6 or 7 horses. Both my wife and myself, we are riding English dressage.
Okay.
And it's just, are you familiar with North Saanich?
No, I'm not.
It's a beautiful place on the island. So just the most beautiful place. Every time I fly in, this is paradise. I love BC. I love Canada, right? So a lot of times what I do is, I have an office there too, but then relaxing, I look at YouTube, I look at music, and and I love what they are playing on there, and I see people that are not as maybe well established, but very, very good. Is that and we have some of our podcasting is on YouTube.
Yeah, we've got a YouTube channel. We've got a few, we did a couple of acoustic videos, just like what we did here, but with the full band that are up there. And with this music video that we're going to go shoot next week, to Pat's point earlier, there is no much music. There's no CMT really anymore. I mean, there is a CMT, but it doesn't air music videos or anything like that anymore in Canada. YouTube is kind of where everything goes, right?
Yeah. And I love it, because it's a good way to get exposure.
Totally.
and other media now is so much easier to get, if you know what, for me at least, to know what to do. We do it even with our podcasting. Segments of my podcast, including yours, likely will be on YouTube, and then we get a lot of response and a lot of feedback on that, really.
Yeah, it's a useful tool. It's a useful avenue. We have our check out the Chris Goodwin Band YouTube page. Hit subscribe, hit follow on all the things. We haven't, because we haven't done a music video yet. It hasn't really taken off, but we're working towards it. Right? It's what we're trying to do. Pat and I had this conversation. Is we're trying to be, because we don't. It's not like we have. Like we don't have a record label, we're not signed, we don't have a sponsor or anyone like that. Like we're just grinding it out. We're paying for everything ourselves.
Very DIY.
Yeah, very DIY. It's what we make in gigs. We usually put back into trying to make music.
Reinvest,
but like it's not like we have a never-ending pot. So to the point. We're trying to be very strategic on what we're doing.
Yeah.
What I say to people all the time, I'm 43 years old, Pat is not, is the time for me to be touring around and sleeping in a van and living off cans of tuna, I miss those days. I'm getting started later in life where I've got...
I'm not going back.
I've got, a long-term girlfriend and 2 stepkids, and we've got a house, and I've got a job, and we've all got bills to pay. And so it's not like we can just throw everything to the wind and...
let's go for it.
Yeah, right? No, it's like, okay, so we've got this amount of available funds, which typically isn't a lot. Where can we get the best ROI for that, return on investment? And that's what I'll speak for myself, that's what I'm always looking at.
Yeah.
And it was very, with Jack Daniels, the first single we put out, that was a lot of, let's take a little bit of money and throw it at a whole bunch of different things and see what sticks. What was actually beneficial, what was not beneficial. And now with Don't You Want a Truck, we're able to see, okay, we didn't need to, it wasn't beneficial for us to have influencers on TikTok or different things like that. That didn't really amount to anything for us. So let's take that chunk, combine it with this chunk, and let's bring in a marketing team. We're working with ZYK out of Ontario. Or let's really do a big pitch to Sirius XM Radio or something like that and see what we can get back from there.
Yeah.
We think that's...
Yeah,
that's a good avenue.
Yeah, that is a good avenue. Sirius XM has been really kind to us.
It's obvious you have the quality, and I'm not trying to make you feel good. That's obvious. You
can make me feel good all you
but that's what I'm saying. Looking at it from a business perspective, and then the other part is that I believe, and I'm doing the same in different ways, is that if I want to be successful as a podcaster, that means we get more and more exposure. We had. I think January, February, March, we had an average of 5 million views per month.
Wow.
So we are, making inroads. And are we making money at it? No. But the recognition of the products that we do under the name John A. Brink is the books that I believe are good and quality. And I put a lot of effort in to make it right. I try to do a good job on the podcasting, on the guests that we have, and hopefully I do a good job on doing the quality of a product that we put out, and then myself as a podcaster are consistent and attracting more and more podcasters, obviously, because we had something like 180 people want to be on our podcast, so, and all of a sudden this is starting to happen, and I believe there are no particular secrets to success. The other day I was in a restaurant and you have had the same experience, is that the person extremely successful, not a good location, but good quality, good service, consistency, all of that. And that applies to me as a lumber manufacturer or a business person, me as a podcaster, me as a writer, doing all these things, and you guys, but your quality of doing the things that you're doing is that as long as you, and it doesn't always look like it's going to happen quickly, because it doesn't, it takes time, and then all of a sudden it breaks through that point that I was saying earlier. And all of a sudden, okay, now what do I do? Like for us, should we distribute through a distributor, and then but first I have to prove that I'm put out a good product. Once I put out a good product, then they may like ADHD, very popular because not many people write about it. Mine is pretty good, so then they know like with this one, that, what am I really selling is that in this one, so the name is John A. Brink here, against all odds, title very important, quality of the book is important, the cover, what does it look like here, what paper do you use, what font do you use, what is the quality of pictures in it, and then obviously what is the product. Is it interesting? And the feedback I was getting is interesting. But now what I do is, because I want to make sure that people look at my name, because at the end of the day, that's what I'm selling in my podcasting, but also in my speaking. One of the highest paid professions in the world is being a public speaker, as you likely know. And but then, okay, well, I'll take that. No, that's not how it works. You must have the story, you must have the ability, and you must have, the ability to make. Have no ambitions to become somebody that sits in an airplane, 24 hours a day, year round. But to be successful in doing presentations, especially motivational ones, to me are interesting. And as long as you have the history, then it becomes a question of time until somebody recognizes it, clicks. And what clicks is that consistency, quality, and predictability, and then responding to a market, even if it is, well, maybe I don't particularly want to do that, but I'm going to do it regardless.
For sure.
Because it brings me on the path down there,
Well, and thinking about the title of your book, Finding Your Passion, Living the Dream, I think we'd be lying if we said that, okay, it would be cool to make a lot of money doing this. That would be great.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Anyone who says that they wouldn't like to get paid a lot for doing something, I think would probably be lying. But at the end of the day, like you just said, John, there is no secret to success. Like, it's hard work, and like we said earlier, we're grinding it out.
For sure.
We're working our butts off. We're having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
It's
Lucky to be able to.
Yeah, lucky to be able to. It's definitely not a complaint. And you want to, and if it clicks, great. That would be fantastic. And if it doesn't click, we're not wasting our time. Like, we're having a good time. We're putting out quality music.
Yeah.
We enjoy each other's company. I think we grow as musicians
and that
together.
is the other part about it. You have the quality of the product, the music, and the ability, and your team. And then secondly, people will see very quickly you enjoy what you do. And the same applies to me. I enjoy podcasting. I enjoy being a public speaker. I enjoy talking about my books and all of that kind of. So I like what I'm doing, and people, that catches people. They like that,
Well, and one thing that's been beneficial to me, and I'll let Pat talk about it a little bit, is it's been helpful to me to work with Pat and to work with Steve and to work with Chester, because they've all kind of done this before. Yeah. Like, Pat's got an album out with his other band, Rocking Chair. I don't know when that came out, but
a while ago.
But just something like Pat. Like, Pat's the brains of the band, and I think everyone kind of knows that. He can keep me kind of grounded as I'm the rookie coming in. We wrote a song. Let's go. And Pat would be, just hold on. Here's what's going to happen. And so I don't know if you had similar experiences when you were with Rocking Chair or anything like that. A different time, I guess.
Very different time, and I was also a lot greener when I first joined Rocking Chair. I was 20.
Okay.
I was still in university, and I did that on weekends, and it was great. I drank a bunch of beer and sang songs with my friends, and I had no complaints at all.
Yeah.
So as far as like the professionalism, like, I don't know about any of that stuff at that point in time. To your point earlier, though, John, about being genuine, like that, you can see that you enjoy what you do. It's all over you, of course, but I hope that comes across with us as well. To Chris's point about like,
it does.
We get along, like we're friends, and we don't hate being here.
And you can feel that right away for people. And the people, if you're on stage, I know that from when I do presentations.
Totally.
I know how people react to me on stage. And the interesting part, as you well know, is that if I give a presentation somewhere for an hour, whatever it is, a keynote presentation, but they will remember not so much what I talked about, but what I looked like and how I conducted myself. And I love what I'm doing, and I'm full of energy, and I'm 83 years old, and
which is shocking, by the way. You don't look a day over like
60, maybe. And I'm only 2/3 where I want to be, because I'm gonna be 120. So and I'm 83, so I got another 40 years to go.
Yeah, you got a long way to go.
Yeah,
that's good.
And I make sure that I stay fit, stay healthy mentally, physically, and and enjoy what I'm doing. So and then if here and there are a few challenges, as you will see in the book, but I'm a perpetual optimist. So and then here in this one. My employees made it for me, this one, and what you may find interesting, I'm going to give you these books, but look on the back of the book, how much is it?
$25.47 right there. There you go.
All my books are $25.47. So on this one, they gave me, that's what I had in my pocket, $25.47, but more importantly, what is my foundation is attitude, avoid the negative, passion, and then work ethic. And then what follows that is success, and then all the ups and downs that go with it. It's seldom that people will see me that I'm down or I yell or scream. I don't do that, but I work hard. I stay the course, and I try to. Every day I usually get up at 5:30 in the morning. About that, I always make my bed, and then maybe I was in the Air Force for a little over 2 years, drafted in Holland. Maybe that's, I always do that. And then I always think I'm late. And even now to the mill, I'm usually the first one there and the last one to leave. So that I fortunately still have the energy.
Yeah, and there's that work ethic right there.
Yeah,
right?
and that, so, and that to me is important.
The thing with attitude that I like, I was just thinking, is because sometimes that's the beauty of being in a band, and not just, I couldn't imagine doing this by myself. I really couldn't, because when the attitude does take a dip, or if things like, I thought that was going to go a completely different way, or you get down, these guys will be quick to remind me, like, hey, calm down, stop taking yourself so seriously, and and that's just kind of what we do. We just pull each other out of it.
Team, right?
It is. It really is a team. I would challenge anyone to come to one of our shows and tell us that we look like we're not having a good time. That was really boring. No, that's not what we do. I mean, as we do work hard. We practice every week together. We're rehearsing on our own. Pat and myself both play solo shows all over Prince George as well. We're busy all the time. We put the work in. Yeah. And the shows that's what you're working towards, right? Yeah. That's what it's all. That's when you can relax and have a good time.
That's when the actual connection happens.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's kind of the only thing that matters.
I wonder if you guys could do another song. Then I'm going to sign these books for you.
Sure.
And then Scott, maybe you can.
Oh, it's music time. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Got it. What do you want to do? You want to do our... so like I said earlier, John, we've got a new song coming out end of September, probably. I think.
Love it.
It's... and this is the one we're going to start shooting a music video for with. Shout out to Frost Films and Adam Harrisimiak at Frost Films. That's who's going to be doing the music video for us.
Real good guy.
Yeah, really good guy. and we're going to shoot it here in Prince George. Keep everything as local as we possibly can. And it's going to be for this song. This song's called Rich Like Ryan Reynolds, and it'll be out here at the end of September. Right?
Yeah, buddy.
How does it go? Do you remember? You like to dance, like to laugh, like to tip back a cold beer or two. I thought trying to impress you was a logical thing to do. But then you kicked my butt at pool and looked up, then you shot me away. My jaw hit the floor, I didn't even need a second to think. 'Cause I knew loving you was all I'd have to do, and I could tell there was no other way. I couldn't live without you, wouldn't want to if I had to, and to prove it, this is all I can say. If I was rich like Ryan Reynolds, that handsome little devil, and could buy anything in sight. If I had muscles like Dwayne Johnson and girls asked to leave the lights on while we're making love all through the night. Even if I could shake like Justin Timberlake, or if I could sing like Luke and Blake do, being rich like Ryan Reynolds wouldn't be as good as loving you. Honey, when we're out together, all those other guys that can't help but stare. The way you fill them jeans out leaves them all gasping for air. Oh, when we stay at home and we get to snuggling up on the couch. The way we fit together, I could never find a reason to doubt that I take all my days spent with your loving ways, and there ain't nowhere else I'd rather be. I love your sugar kisses, I'm your mister, you're my missus, and I think by now you're starting to see. If I was rich like Ryan Reynolds, that handsome little devil, and could buy anything in sight. If I had muscles like Dwayne Johnson and girls asked to leave the lights on while we're making love all through the night. Even if I could shake like Justin Timberlake, or if I could sing like Luke and Blake too, being rich like Ryan Reynolds wouldn't be as good as loving you. Girl, your love fits like a glove, I just can't get enough. And while I know I ain't no Bill Shakespeare, you're a drive-out in the country, you're sophisticated, funny, you're so confident and cool, and girl, you got that body too. You know your hair smells like vanilla, you get whiskey on tequila, just in case it's still not clear. If I was rich like Ryan Reynolds, that handsome little devil, and could buy anything in sight. If I had muscles like Dwayne Johnson and girls asked to leave the lights on while we're making love all through the night. Even if I could shake like Justin Timberlake, or if I could sing like Luke and Blake too, being rich like Ryan Reynolds wouldn't be as good as loving you. Being rich like Ryan Reynolds wouldn't be as good as loving you.
Wow, that's going to be another success.
Thank you
It's not
so much.
released yet, right?
No, that comes out the end of September.
That's going to be a good one too.
Thank you
I know
so
it
much.
will be.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No question. Thanks, really
Hey,
inspiring guys.
Thank you.
Love
Thank
what
you.
you're doing, and
Thank you for
we'll
having
see you
us
go
on.
up the
I
line.
appreciate
And
that.
thanks,
Appreciate it.
guys.
Thank you very much.
And I have 3 books for you, and
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank
For
you
the post as well.
so much. Fantastic.
And
Thanks.
then we'd like to stay in touch, and I really appreciate the music, and as I said, the podcast will come out tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Sounds
And
good.
So
Great.
again, thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, man.
Appreciate it.
Thank you again, John. I appreciate it.
Thank you.